Hello and welcome back. 2 weeks, a new year. Today I will start it with a review of my 3 Daro Optima M16 machines together. In practice, this model is the Optima M14 with the new scroll selectors for pressure level and color selection on the left and right of the keyboard, with the same carriage as the M14 but with plastic linings on the sides and back, primarily in beige. The cover has a metal plate with stamp logo, no longer the engraved logo, and the color of the metal elements on the body and carriage is deep green. One interesting detail is the metal plate guiding the arm of the letters, which here is the same as on the M10, M12 and M14 models, but on the Optima M16, Daro 20, Robotron 20 and Robotron 24 it has a different shape. Initially, I thought that the Daro Optima M16 was a transitional model from the M14 to the M16, although at the same time I knew that the Daro brand existed for a short time, after which it was finally closed, and the Daro 20 is after the Optima M16. Or in other words, it made no sense for the Daro Optima M16 and Daro 20 to be separated from the Optima M16 model. A fellow Russian vlogger revealed to me that in fact the Daro Optima M16 is after the Optima M16. It sounds strange that after the changes in the carriage and some other elements of the Optima M16, production would then return to the old design from the M14, but this is as strange as the idea of the Daro brand itself, which arose immediately after the purchase of the Erfurt factory by the Robotron factory in Dresden, and existed relatively briefly as specifically the Daro Optima M16 is assembled with remaining parts from the M14. This color of the machine's body is also not from the time of the Daro Optima M16, which was reviewed by my last acquisition, which is like the Optima M14 with the same green, the same white cover with the engraved logo, the same white plastic around the keyboard and with plastic elements on the carriage, but again white, but with the new scroll selectors, and is branded as the M16 model. This Daro Optima M16 has been through a lot, although it is an interesting combination of worn, broken, but at the same time well preserved elements. Here you can see the video of my typing on it. The typical conical knobs taken from the M14 model are distinguished. The early white-green M16 model has others that were also used on the Daro Optima M16, but more on that later. I bought this one forgotten in a basement. It was missing the back panel of the carriage here. This one is from a spare one that I used for parts, so it is not the same color. But more importantly, what you see when you remove it is that the margins mechanism is missing, and there is damage to the plastic part on the carriage also. You can see the typical sheets of sheet metal that I already mentioned in the M14 review. The plastic on the front end are also quite worn, the one around the keyboard as well as the cover, which has a burnt hole, probably from a cigarette, and is irreparably worn even after heavy cleaning. The main problem of this machine, present in too many of its twins, is leaving unwanted spaces, which I showed in the original review and are particularly intense with certain letters. Given the missing and broken parts, it makes a pretty good impression. There are also many shiny and preserved metal elements, and the arms of the letters move without any problems, as well as each of the keys. And completely unexpectedly, considering where I found it, the ribbons are in excellent condition, like new, apparently really new. It fascinates me then, it continues to fascinate me now, although I have seen its problems and it requires increased attention when typing. But every machine has a story, right? And that is what I'm primarily looking for. The story, the personification, simply charming. This is my second Daro Optima M16. Unfortunately, I didn't have the space to keep it in the apartment for long, and now it's in the basement and I don't have enough photos of it. I dragged it abandoned in the basement of a school for a symbolic price, with a lost top cover, as most often happens, without ribbons and covered in dust. It is still covered in dust from the inside. Actually, I haven't spent enough time for clean it, but that's because it is in perfect mechanical condition. As I said last time, I have 13. I think even more now, but none of these twin machines are completely identical. The knobs. These are not the conical ones like on my previous Daro Optima M16 and like on the Optima M14, but they are not the same as on the Optima M16. Daro 20, Robotron 20 and Robotron 24. According to my fellow Russian vlogger, these are the most common ones. It was extremely surprising that all the mechanisms inside are in perfect work order. If it wasn't me, this machine would be somewhere smashed into chunks now. The only thing that doesn't work quite right is the line spacing switch, which I've glued down so it doesn't move accidentally. It's always a pleasure to rescue something abandoned and dusty somewhere in warehouses and basements, and it was a real pleasure to rescue this machine here. And this is my third Daro Optima M16 with Russian lettering. I don't know exactly how it ended in Bulgaria and whether it was ever used, but it looks like absolutely brand new, which is very valuable. This is the white Optima M16, which then convinced me that the Daro Optima M16 comes after the Optima M14, which I later realized was not the case. But it wasn't hard to think of it, considering that the plastic elements here are completely identical in color to those of the Optima M14. The only difference is that they are all plastic, and the body and metal parts of the carriage are in deep green, not in light gray like the M14, or in beige like the M16. As you can see, this one also has an A3 carriage. I would really like to collect all the machines from the family in one photo at some point. It will be very, very interesting. So similar and at the same time so different. Another page of the history of the big family. Thank you for your attention and see you again soon.